Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me for another bonus episode in this series in which I've been sharing our family's experiences in the last year of our daughter Hannah's life, which spanned from February 2008 through February 2009. This series would not be complete without a discussion of the ministry which developed out of Hannah's homegoing. If you'll indulge me for a few more bonus episodes, I'd like to share how God used Hannah's storm to birth the While We're Waiting ministry to bereaved parents. As always, my desire is to give glory to God and to point listeners to hope in Jesus along the way. I'm grateful you've joined me. This is bonus episode number 193, The Origin of While We're Waiting, Part 2. During the final days of Hannah's life, many people dropped by the hospice center and left books, gifts, food, and other items for our family. These kindnesses were so greatly appreciated. Most of these gifts were accompanied by a card indicating who had given them. But one gift, a book called Holding On to Hope by Nancy Guthrie, was accompanied by a card signed only with the initials PLC. When the book was brought to the room that Hannah and I shared, I read the back cover and discovered that it was Nancy's story about losing 2 babies to a congenital disorder called Zellweger syndrome. It sounded like an interesting book, but frankly, I couldn't see how it related to the situation in which we found ourselves. Here I was with my 17-year-old daughter dying of cancer. I wasn't sure how this book would be helpful to me. But after Hannah went to heaven and I was ready to read something again, this was the book I was drawn to out of all the books we had been given. I picked it up and started reading it, and it was exactly what I needed to read. Zellweger syndrome is a terminal condition, just as Hannah's cancer had been a terminal condition. In her book, Nancy grappled with difficult issues of God's sovereignty in situations of terminal illness. When you pray for healing, when you believe God can and sometimes does heal, yet He does not choose to heal your child. It confirmed so much of what we had experienced in our year-long journey with Hannah. At some point, I got on her website to learn more about her and her story. A link labeled Respite Retreats caught my eye. I clicked on it and discovered that she and her husband hosted retreats for bereaved parents in Nashville, Tennessee. I was simultaneously intrigued and unsettled. I was intrigued because of what I discussed in my last episode. Brad and I both craved interaction with other parents who had lost children, and this sounded like the perfect opportunity for that. On one level, it sounded like a dream come true. I was unsettled because this type of event was way outside of my comfort zone. The thought of going somewhere I had never been to talk to people I had never met about the most painful experiences of my life was actually somewhat terrifying. As a classic introvert, that's exactly the type of situation I typically try to avoid. I don't even go to retreats with women I know from our church. I've just never been a retreat type of person. I showed the retreat information to Brad and I told him I thought it looked like something that would really be helpful to us, but hastily added that I didn't want to go. Brad, as a classic extrovert, would have gone without hesitation, but I just wasn't ready. I did sign up for Nancy's e-newsletter before I left the website. A few months later, when I received her newsletter and read about the next respite retreat scheduled for that upcoming September, I once again brought the idea to Brad. Though I was still pretty uncomfortable with the whole concept, I decided I was ready to give it a try.